Alright guys, we've got a bunch of great Nintendo Switch 2 gaming news and more to cover today, so let's go ahead and jump right in, and it's with the supposed or rumored Nintendo Direct that's supposed to be set for this week. Apparently it's going to be announced sometime this week, and it's going to be happening by the end of the week, so we'll see how that works out. But we've got some more information coming out from that. Shout outs to my man Stealth and Nash Weedle plus Attack of the Backlog are now saying that Resident Evil 7 will be coming to the Nintendo Switch 2, and it will be announced at the upcoming Nintendo Direct. So this is something that I've actually predicted myself. I know for a fact that Capcom wanted every single Resident Evil release that skipped the Nintendo Switch 1 to be natively on the Nintendo Switch 2. I know that they actually did tests to see if Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 8, Resident Evil 2 Remake, and all the other Resident Evil games that were either streaming or just didn't come over. I know that they did tests to see if they could come over, and it just didn't work out with the system power. But with the Nintendo Switch 2 being a more modern architecture, being more powerful, I do think that now is the time that Capcom can finally bring over Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 8, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Resident Evil 2 Remake. All of those games can come over natively at this point, and I think that that is going to happen here. Now, I'm not sure if this is connected to the whole Switch Force Mysterious 3-7 titles. For those who don't know, Switch Force, who's gotten a number of things right with Nintendo Direct or presentation predictions, has stated that there's going to be 3 mysterious games that have 7 in the title, which we all know one of them is Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate, so that's not so mysterious, but there's 2 other ones, and nobody's gotten the combination right. Some people were saying Resident Evil 7, some people were saying Black Ops. That game is coming, but that's also 7. So we'll see what combination, if it is or not, or maybe there's even more than that. But yeah, I think Resident Evil's coming. I know Capcom wants to bring over the Resident Evil titles. Resident Evil titles do great on Nintendo platforms. Resident Evil 6, for example, sold 1 million units on the Nintendo Switch 2 by itself, and that was just crazy because I'm like, man, there's really people out here buying Resident Evil 6 on the Nintendo Switch. I do think that was actually something that they looked at and said, wow, people are really buying Resident Evil when it comes down to it. Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 5, those did good. Resident Evil Revelations, that has a history as well. So I can see them bringing over not only Resident Evil 7, but also Resident Evil 4 Remake, maybe Resident Evil 2 Remake, Resident Evil 3 Remake. I can see them bringing over the whole suite, as the Nintendo Switch 1 got a lot of Resident Evil love sprinkled throughout its life. So what do you guys think overall when it comes to the potential of Resident Evil 7 coming over and other big Resident Evil titles? Let me know in the comment section below. But before we get into the next topic, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you are someone new, click that notification bell, and if you have that hype button on your player, make sure you hit that hype button as well if you're enjoying the daily content. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the next topic here, guys, and we're going to talk about the debacle, in my opinion at least, when it comes to Daemon X Machina Titanic Scion and how they messed this up, because now we have a little bit of an indication of how messed up they got this when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2 version of this game. So Daemon X Machina Titanic Scion, it is a follow-up to the original Daemon X Machina game from the Nintendo Switch 1, and it was later ported over to PC. This game was never ported over to Xbox or PlayStation. However, it seems like the next game here with Titanic Scion was made for Xbox and PlayStation and PC, and they didn't necessarily spend too much time on the Nintendo Switch 2 version based off of the poor performance of it. And even if you compare it to the non-optimized Steam Deck version, that runs better. So they clearly built it for x86. They did not build this for the Nintendo Switch 2 architecture overall. But if you look at the sales numbers, or if you're starting to look at the sales charts that are coming in, clearly only Nintendo fans cared about this game. In the UK right now, we have the debut sales rankings for a lot of different games. This is for the week ending in September 6th. Mario Kart World once again back on top. Star Wars Outlaws, a game that was adapted and they ported and they did a good job of making sure that it ran and looked good on the Switch 2. That jumped all the way up, with most of the sales, of course, with Star Wars Outlaws at this point on the Nintendo Switch 2. But it's great to see it it was in at number 7. It was out of the top 40. It's in at number 7. And now 75% of those sales, physical, guys, this is not digital, but physical, were on the Nintendo Switch 2, with only 18% on PS5 and 7% on Xbox. But once again, that is an older game. However, Daemon X Machina Titanic Scion, when you look at that game, that has 72% of the sales. This is the UK, 72% of the sales on the Nintendo Switch 2, only 24% on the PlayStation 5, and a paltry 4% on the Xbox. So what does that tell you? Even though the game performed worse when it comes to the performance of it on the Nintendo Switch 2, it still sold the highest amount, because the fans that have the Nintendo Switch 2, they remember, oh, I played this on the Nintendo Switch 1, or this was a Switch 1 game. Xbox and PlayStation fans had no idea what this was. There was nobody that was hyping it up, but they made this game more optimized for those platforms. And I don't understand that when the large majority of your sales are going to be on the Nintendo Switch 2. But I think that this game could have done considerably better, because it's a brand new game. It could have done better or just as good as Star Wars Outlaws, considering it's a new game and Star Wars Outlaws is older, if they actually took the time to optimize and make sure that it was running good on the platform, because it debuted all the way at number 24, below a lot of other games that have been out for a bit. And yes, it's a AA game. It is not the most known game, but I'm telling you guys, if they would have just spent the time, and if it would have got better reviews, better word of mouth, I think that this game could have done better. Now, I know that it first debuted here on the US eShop charts at 15. It might have went up or not since then. I'll have an update for you guys here if I can find that when I'm editing, but I think that it's just sad that they weren't able to get this thing edited and better for the actual fan base that supported the game on the Nintendo Switch 1, and to where people really wanted to play it was on there. So that's very unfortunate. Let's see if they actually get some patches out. Let's see if they can fix it up, because right now it's looking rough, dipping below 30 FPS a lot of hitching and stuff like that. And it's not perfect on Xbox or PlayStation, but at the same time, you'd expect a better effort than this, especially considering how well it did on the Switch 1. That also had performance issues too. So what do you guys think about this when it comes to the UK sales here? Mario Kart World once again taking the #1 spot as well. Donkey Kong Bonanza doing really well. Good to see Star Wars Outlaws too. But what do you guys think about all this and what happened with Daemon X Machina? We'll see how it does in the rest of the world and all that. We'll see how it does in the Japanese sales. But let me know in the comment section below. All right, let's go and get into a new game announcement here for the Nintendo Switch 2, and that is Voidling Bound. And this one's interesting because it's developed by Skylanders developers. It's going to be a cross between the old school PC title Spore and Warframe. Now, the sci-fi action shooter lets players evolve voidlings through branching paths, shaping both their abilities and appearance. So here's a little bit more about the game. Become a space wrangler and take direct control of creatures called voidlings. In this action-packed sci-fi third-person shooter, shape them through branching evolution paths and upgrade their abilities to overcome bubonic swarms, pestilent bosses, and reclaim lush planets overrun by corruption. Defenseless against a devastating parasite threatening all life forms, humanity must team up with recently discovered voidlings to unlock their full potential through the neural bond. Become bound as one as the last line of defense in our fight for survival. Here are the key features, guys. Action-packed third-person shooter where you take complete control of your monster, shoot, slash, slam, and blast your way through battles. I like that it's third person, so that gets my attention right there. I'm not big on first-person stuff. Evolve through branching paths to customize your elemental alignment, appearance, playstyle, and abilities. Discover powerful mutated perks that change how each voidling is played. Level up your voidling and assign attribute points to customize their playstyle, strength, vitality, essence, recuperation, or agility. The choice is yours. Cleanse vibrant, handcrafted planets oozing with diverse enemies, each posing unique gameplay challenges. Discover new voidlings by rescuing and hatching eggs from infested locations. Get lucky and hatch rate natures that empower your voidlings. Breed to combine natures and attributes for even more power. So almost like a Pokemon dynamic here too. Collect body parts, colors, and eye genes to customize your specimens. Craft unique voidlings that combine strength of all your discoveries, unlock powerful synergies through impossible to overcome ever-increasing challenges. And this thing reminded me of Furbies, like right out the back. So I'm not in love with that, but at the same time, I do think that some people will like the design of how they look and everything. I'm not sold on it 100% at this point, but it does look pretty cool. Looks like you're going to be able to kind of have a lot of different customization and ways to play and things like that. And I do think that, yeah, if you enjoyed Skylanders, this might be for you. Now, the gameplay trailer, a little bit rough right now from what I'm seeing, but it's a gameplay trailer. It's not coming out to 2026. I think they have plenty of time to shape that up, but it does look very interesting, and it looks like it could be pretty cool overall when it comes to just like a cool action adventure type of game and everything. So I'm looking forward to seeing exactly how this is going to shape up and turn out, and hopefully it ends up being really good because we need new IPs and all that. So awesome stuff there. So what do you guys think about Boiling Bound, a new monster tamer type of game? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, and moving on to the final topic, we are going to discuss what is happening with Star Wars Outlaws. I alluded to it just a little bit before, but we do have the first title patch update here that already takes a game that's really good. When it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2 performance and graphics, I think that this is the best third-party AAA port on the platform, hands down. I think it beats out Cyberpunk when it comes down to it, and the game is better than what it was when it launched last year originally. Now, they did patch that up and make that better, but the Switch 2 version launches with all of those updates, all of the DLC already on there that you can pick up, in addition to a host of improvements, and now they've even made it better. So Star Wars Outlaws might be a game that you want to look into if you're looking for a third-person shooter action adventure game in an open world, and if you like Star Wars, might be a no-brainer there as well. So here are the patch notes that have just made the game even better. We got general gameplay fixes, several fixed issues with NPCs not spawning and issues like that, reduced the likelihood of being stuck while traversal, improved hiding and detection in tall grass, so that's definitely good on the gameplay front, and of course various stability improvements and minor fixes, which are important in Ubisoft games because sometimes you can have some crazy stuff that happens. Now, another big thing here that people really loved about Star Wars Outlaws was how good it looked, how it used DLSS and the output resolution, but things have gotten even better because they've stated here on the patch notes, improvements made to visual quality when moving quickly through the world or using binoculars with less pop-in, reduced flickering with smoke and lighting, improved the shadows at the edge of the screen when moving in cities and stations, improved quality of the leaves, cloth, and other things that let light through, and other various small fixes and improvements. So some people were already saying, man, this pushes the system to its edge, but you know what? They still even made further improvements on top of that, which once again proves it's about the people that are developing for the platform, not only just about how much raw power you put out on the spec sheet or anything like that. They also fixed some camera movement when traversing through certain objects in certain ways with K. They fixed some UI problems that they had as well. Plus, they fixed some issues with the different DLC packs too. So, in my opinion, if you're looking for a third-party game that gets it mostly right overall, I would say that Star Wars Outlaws is the game for that. Now, I never played it on the Xbox or PlayStation beforehand because I saw some of the reviews. I'm not a big Star Wars fan, so I decided maybe I'll pick it up later when it's on discount or something like that. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they announced it for the Nintendo Switch 2 at a Nintendo Direct. And I was like, oh wow, that's coming over to the Nintendo Switch 2, Star Wars Outlaws. Okay, well maybe I'll check it out then. I'll probably get a review code for it. That's exactly what happened. I've been playing it just a bit between a lot of Silksong. I've been playing Star Wars Outlaws, put around 4+ hours or so into it, did a couple of the different missions, played through, and I was thoroughly impressed. Yes, it's at 30 FPS, but it's a very smooth and stable 30 FPS, and Digital Foundry did some tests. It actually runs at a better 30 FPS and more stable with less frame and pacing problems than the Xbox Series S version of the game. So that tells you that this game is super optimized for the Nintendo Switch 2 because the Xbox Series S is more powerful than the Nintendo Switch 2. But with the architecture that the Nintendo Switch 2 has, along with DLSS and other little bells and whistles and little tricks, you can get some great performance out of the system that rivals what some of these other systems are doing. So to me, the fact that they actually got it running and looking this good in comparison to a lot of the other major third-party games on the Nintendo Switch 2, I think it definitely should be applauded. I think it's up there, or if not above, when it comes to Cyberpunk 2077. I think it's right up there with Street Fighter 6 and some of the other games, Yakuza 0, that have just been incredible third-party conversions over to the Nintendo Switch 2, and it definitely deserves some attention, especially if you're a Star Wars fan or if you like open world games or third-person shooters. I want to check out Star Wars Outlaws. Comes with everything all right there, and it got even better. So what do you guys think about Star Wars Outlaws in addition to everything else that we talked about here in this video? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.